With recent additions to Power BI, we can now make the ultimate in dynamic charts. We can use bookmarks to change our visual types, we can use slicers to change our categories, and we can actually use slicers to change our y-axis. And all of this without knowing a single shred of DAX. To begin with, I'm going to start with a simple column chart. To create my dynamic axes, I'm going to go up to the Modeling tab and choose New Parameter and Fields. From here, I'm going to choose my category. So I'm going to call this my category. And I can choose the columns that I ultimately want to appear. So I'm going to have the regions as an option for my user to choose from. I'm going to have the family as something to choose from. And I'm going to have my year for my calendar table as well. Importantly, I'm going to add a slicer to save myself a little bit of work later. When I click on create, a whole bunch of things happen. A new slicer is added, but of note, we also have a new table. The way this works is using the name of function. It allows you to identify a column that you want to reference. 3 things are created: my category order to sort my columns in a particular order in the visual, my category fields to identify which columns we want to bring through, and my category, which is the actual text. I don't like it reading out as region name, so I'm just going to modify the text. This won't break any of my code, it's just what's going to appear. Click away, it reruns the code, and you'll see everything's good. Switch back to report view, and I just want to modify this a teeny bit, so I'm going to go to my visualizations pane, click on the paintbrush, slicer settings, and personally I much prefer the tile style, so that's what I'm going to have. If you're planning on using this with something like a matrix, you can actually use this technique to choose multiple columns in your table or matrix. For me though, I just want a simple slicer. I'm going to repeat this for the calculations. Now, the calculation does have to be pre-made, so if you wanted the sum of a column, you would need to right-click, New Measure, and then do your calculation definition. So sum of quantity equals sum of quantity. But most of the ones you're going to want to make are the same as what you put in visuals anyway, so nothing too complex. Once you've created all of the measures that you want to use, it's back up to the Modeling tab, New Parameter, Fields, and if I look inside of my measure table, I've actually got all of those fields defined. So I'm going to have my units sold, my transactions, and my trading days. I'm going to change this to choose a KPI. Create. And again, it's the same thing that's happened. We're referencing a column, in this case a measure specifically, and we've got the names. So if I wanted to change what the names look like, I could change the definition inside of the DAX. To steal the formatting, I'm going to use the Format Painter and just copy that across to my other visual. And again, resize that so it fits in here nicely. With both of these components, I can click on my visual. And then from my fields, I'm going to add the only column that's actually not hidden. So category into my x-axis because this is a column chart. And then down to my KPI. And again, the only unhidden column into my y-axis. As soon as I select one, you'll see I've now got it filtered to whatever field I'm looking at. To add the finishing touch though, it'd be nice to have several different visuals actually here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy and paste this visual, making sure it's perfectly on top so it looks like it's just the one visual. I'll change this one to a line chart, and then one more duplication, and I'll have this one as a stacked bar chart. To change the visibility of objects, we need the View tab, and then we need the Selection pane. I'm just going to minimize data and visualizations just for the moment, so it's a bit easier to read. I've got my 2 tables here. If I'm unsure which one I'm looking at, I can hide and unhide them. The order in here is also the order as it appears in my report. With that done, what I need to do is save each of these as hidden. So I'm going to go to the View tab again, and this time I want the Bookmark pane. So the Bookmark pane can save filters, and it can also save visibility. So I'm going to hide 2 of my visuals. So only one of the visuals is now appearing. And I'm going to go ahead to Bookmarks and click on Add. The problem with doing that is by default, this will save the entire page. And if I decide to add other visuals, I don't want it to be part of this bookmark. So instead, I'm going to delete that bookmark and I'm going to hold Control, and in the selection pane, you can actually select visuals that are hidden. Now watch out, because when you're hovering over the top of a column, it actually looks like it's not selected. Move your mouse away and I can see all 3 are selected. Now when I go to Add Bookmark, I can change it to Selected Visuals. The settings are only saved for visuals that were selected when you clicked on Add or when you clicked on Update, but doing from the get-go is much easier. One of the other things I'm going to do is change the data option. I don't want to save how those were being filtered when I first created them, which in this case would be unfiltered. By unticking data, that means if someone changes a slicer, it will affect my visual. Rename this to my bar chart, and simply repeat for each of your visuals. Hide, unhide, make sure they're all selected, add a bookmark, selected visuals, untick data, rename it, this time to line chart, and then one more time, hide, unhide, select them all, add, column chart, untick data so it doesn't save filters, and change it to selected visuals so it's only saving the settings of the 3 I've got selected. To show this, go to the Insert tab, go to Buttons, and we want to go down to Navigator, Bookmark Navigator. By default, the Bookmark Navigator shows every single one of my bookmarks, but if I go into the Format tab, down to Bookmarks, I can actually choose Bookmark Groups. So if I select the 3 bookmarks that I've created, right click and choose Group, I can actually group these together. So I'm going to choose this as Swap Chart. If you've still got this selected, sometimes it won't actually render, so you may need to click off of your Bookmark Navigator, click back on it, come to Bookmarks again, use the drop down, and this time you see Swap Chart. Now it's just a case of layout, so I'm going to go to Grid Layout, and I've decided I would like mine as a vertical. Reposition that. Hide your panes. And now, if we click on any of our slicers, the category changes, the KPI changes, and then finally, holding Control, clicking one of the bookmarks, will also change the visual type. Note, your front-end user doesn't have to hold Control, just us when we're testing out actions on buttons or bookmark navigators. And there we have it, the ultimate chart, where the y-axis, x-axis, and even chart type can be chosen by your user. I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next one.